Dad's silent revenge.
My wife Sharon stood in my workshop doorway and said, "Carl, we need to talk about Sunset Manor. Nathan found you a nice room there, and we're putting the house on the market next month." I looked up from the cabinet I was building and just nodded. Didn't argue, didn't raise my voice. For the next 2 weeks, she and her son Nathan celebrated like they'd already won the lottery. When the buyer showed up with their cashier's check, that's when my lawyer Helen dropped the surprise that changed everything. Let me back up. My name is Carl Thompson. I'm 67 years old, and I spent 40 years as an electrical engineer before retiring. Been living in this house for 22 years now, bought it with my first wife Linda, before she passed from lung cancer 18 months ago. Sharon came into my life 3 years back when I was still raw from grief, and I married her thinking a man my age shouldn't be alone. Biggest mistake I ever made. The house sits on 3 acres outside Columbus, Ohio. Ranch-style home with a 2-car garage that I converted into a woodworking shop. That workshop is my sanctuary, table saw, drill press, lathe hand tools organized on pegboards like a surgical suite. I've built everything from kitchen cabinets to rocking chairs in there. When Linda was sick, I'd escape to that shop for hours, the smell of sawdust and the hum of machinery keeping me sane. Sharon never liked the workshop, called it dangerous for a man my age, said I was going to cut off a finger or worse. Nathan, her 35-year-old son from her first marriage, agreed with everything his mother said. Nathan's one of those guys who thinks a screwdriver is something you drink, not a tool. Works in sales, drives a BMW he can barely afford, always looking for the next big score. The trouble started in February. Sharon began asking casual questions about property values. "Carl, what do you think this place is worth with the market the way it is?" She'd say it while cooking dinner, like she was just making conversation. But I noticed she was doing it when Nathan was around, and I caught them exchanging looks when they thought I wasn't paying attention. Then Nathan started showing up more often. He'd walk around the property like he was measuring it with his eyes, checking out the workshop, the land, even going down to the basement to look at the furnace and water heater. One Saturday morning, I found him in my shop moving things around. "Just curious about your setup here, Carl," he said when I asked what he was doing. "Mom worries about you using all these power tools." That's when I started paying real attention. Sharon had never worried about my tools before. Hell, she bragged to her friends about the furniture I made. But suddenly, everything I did was dangerous. The table saw was too powerful. The ladder to change light bulbs was too high. Even my morning routine of checking the property became wandering around confused. In March, they staged their intervention. I was in the kitchen having coffee when Sharon sat down across from me with that serious face she gets when she wants something. Nathan pulled up a chair and they both started talking about Sunset Manor senior living. "Carl, we've done some research," Sharon began. "This facility is beautiful. You'd have your own room, meals provided, activities, medical support right there if you need it." Nathan jumped in with his sales pitch. "Look, Carl, this house is too much for one person. The workshop is a liability. You're 67 years old, and maintaining 3 acres is exhausting work. What if you fell out there and no one found you for hours?" I listened without interrupting. Sharon talked about how I'd make friends, how I wouldn't have to worry about cooking or cleaning. Nathan mentioned the financial benefits of liquidating assets. They had charts, brochures, even a waiting list form already filled out except for my signature. "We just want what's best for you," Sharon said, reaching across to pat my hand. "The house will sell quickly in this market." Nathan looked into it. That last part made my engineer brain kick into gear. Nathan looked into it. "When? How?" I told them I'd think about it. They seemed pleased, like they'd expected more resistance. Sharon hugged me and said she was proud of me for being so reasonable. Nathan said he'd handle all the paperwork to make it easy for me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went out to the workshop and sat in my old desk chair, looking at the projects I had planned. A bookshelf for Dorothy Williams, my neighbor, whose husband died last year. A toy chest for my buddy George's new grandson. 40 years of accumulated skills and knowledge, and they wanted to pack it up like it meant nothing. But here's the thing about being an engineer. We don't just get mad, we analyze problems. I started treating this situation like a design challenge. What were the facts? What were the variables? What solutions were available? Fact 1, the house was in my name only. Linda and I owned it jointly, but when she died, it transferred completely to me through survivorship. I'd handled all that paperwork myself. Fact 2, Sharon had no legal claim to my property. We'd signed a prenup at her insistence, actually. She'd said she wanted to keep things simple, protect Nathan's inheritance from her first marriage. Fact 3, nobody could force me into a nursing home unless a court declared me mentally incompetent, and I was about as mentally sharp as I'd ever been, but I needed to know exactly what Sharon and Nathan were planning. The next morning, I drove to Radio Shack and bought a small digital recorder. $40. Best investment I ever made. I started carrying it in my shirt pocket, especially when Sharon and Nathan were having their little conferences. Didn't take long to hit gold. 3 days later, they were in the living room going through real estate websites while I was supposedly napping in my recliner. "Mom, look at this comparable sale," Nathan was saying. "Same square footage, sold for $395,000 last month." With Carl's property size and the workshop building, we're looking at $420,000 easy. "The workshop adds value?" Sharon asked. "Are you kidding? That's 900 square feet of finished space with electrical, heating, and plumbing. Some buyer will love it. We just need to clear out all Carl's junk first. My junk. Tools worth $15,000 and projects representing hundreds of hours of work." Junk. Sharon's voice was pure calculation. "The Sunset Manor deposit is $8,000 and monthly fees are $3,000 with Carl's Social Security and pension, plus what we make on the house sale will be set for Florida." Florida? That was new information. I kept listening. I already talked to that realtor, Janet Morrison. Nathan continued. "She says properties like this move fast if they're priced right. We could close within 60 days of listing, and Carl's agreed to this. He will. You just need to keep working on him. Make him feel like it's his idea. Talk about how hard maintaining this place is, how isolated he is out here. Maybe get his doctor involved if he starts balking." I had heard enough. But instead of confronting them, I went deeper underground. If they wanted to play games, I'd show them what a real strategy looked like. My first call was to George Martinez, my golf buddy who'd retired from the Columbus Police Department. George knew everyone, including attorneys who specialized in elder law. "Carl, you need Helen Rodriguez." George told me she handles property protection for seniors. Smart as a whip and tougher than a $2 steak. Helen's office was downtown in a building that looked like it had been there since the Civil War. She was maybe 50, Hispanic, wearing a business suit and reading glasses on a chain. When I walked in, she didn't talk to me like I was some confused old man who'd wandered away from his nurse. "Mr. Thompson, tell me exactly what's happening," she said. Pulling out a legal pad, I told her everything. The conversations, the recordings, the Sunset Manor brochures, Nathan's real estate research. Helen took notes without interrupting, asked a few clarifying questions, then leaned back in her chair. "First, let's be clear about your legal position," she said. "No one can force you to sell your home or move to a facility without your consent. Your wife has no claim to property you owned before marriage, especially with a prenuptial agreement. Her son has zero legal standing whatsoever." That felt good to hear, but Helen wasn't finished. "However, if they're determined to pursue this, they might try to have your mental competency evaluated. It's a common tactic in these situations. They'll claim you're not maintaining the property, making poor decisions, showing signs of dementia." "I'm sharper now than I was at 40, I said. "I believe you, but we need documentation. I'm going to recommend you get evaluated by Dr. Eugene Foster. He specializes in geriatric psychiatry and competency assessments. We'll want that on record before anyone questions it." Helen explained my options. I could fight directly, but that would tip them off and potentially escalate the situation, or I could appear to cooperate while legally protecting my assets. "What do you recommend?" I asked. "We create a family protection trust. Transfer the house into the trust with you as sole trustee for life. Add specific provisions about your workshop and tools. Choose a beneficiary who reflects your values, not your family drama." I like the sound of that. "What kind of beneficiary? What matters to you, Mr. Thompson? What would you want to see continue after you're gone?" I thought about that workshop, all the young guys I'd mentored over the years, skills that were being lost to video games and smartphones. The local technical college, I said, their woodworking program, they could use the space and tools to train the next generation. Helen smiled. "Perfect. We'll structure it so the house can't be sold while you're living there and maintaining it. If anyone challenges your competency, they'll have to prove you're not capable of maintaining your own home. Given what you've told me about your daily routine and project work, that would be nearly impossible." The paperwork took 2 weeks. Helen filed everything quietly, no fanfare, no notifications to Sharon or Nathan. As far as they knew, nothing had changed. Meanwhile, I continued my intelligence gathering. That little recorder picked up some interesting conversations. Sharon complaining to her sister about having to babysit an old man when she wanted to be in Florida. Nathan researching nursing home costs and calculating how much of the house sale would be left after paying for my care. They'd already decided my fate and divided up my assets. The real breakthrough came when I installed a small security camera in my workshop. Nothing fancy, just a trail cam I bought for deer hunting years ago. I positioned it to cover the main work area and turned it on whenever I left the house. 2 days later, Nathan took the bait. I'd gone to the grocery store, and when I checked the camera footage that evening, there he was with his phone filming everything. My tools, my projects, the electrical panel, even the structural supports. He was building a case that the workshop was dangerous, that I was in over my head with electrical work and heavy machinery, but Nathan made a crucial mistake. The camera also picked up his phone call to someone, probably that realtor Janet Morrison. "Yeah, I'm in the workshop now," he was saying. "This place is a fire hazard waiting to happen. Look at all this electrical work he's done himself. No way it's up to code. The whole building should probably be torn down, but the square footage adds value to the property. Perfect. My amateur electrician work that wasn't up to code. I'd pulled permits for every modification, had everything inspected by the city. Those certificates were framed on my workshop wall, but Nathan was too busy making his case to notice them. I had enough evidence to bury them, but Helen advised patience. Let them think they're winning, she said. The more confident they get, the more mistakes they'll make. When this goes to a meeting with buyers and attorneys, we want them completely committed to their story. So I played along, started mentioning how tired I was getting, how the workshop projects seemed harder than they used to be. Sharon ate it up, getting more aggressive about Sunset Manor brochures and scheduling tours. Nathan began openly discussing real estate strategies at dinner, talking about staging the house and pricing for quick sale. We should probably get rid of some of Carl's workshop stuff before showing the house. Nathan told Sharon one evening, too cluttered. Makes it look like a hoarder situation. They scheduled the sale meeting for a Friday in April. Found some young couple, the Henderson family, who'd been looking for a property with workshop space. Nathan had convinced them this was the perfect setup for a home-based woodworking business. The meeting was set for Nathan's attorney's office, some guy named Leonard Hayes who specialized in quick real estate transactions. Sharon insisted I dress nicely, said it was important to make a good impression on the buyers. I wore my best jeans and a clean flannel shirt. If they wanted to see an old man ready to give up his workshop, I'd give them exactly that performance. Helen arrived at the meeting 10 minutes early. She was dressed for battle in a navy suit, carrying a briefcase that looked like it weighed 50 pounds. When Sharon saw her, confusion flickered across her face. "Carl, who is this woman, my attorney?" I said simply. Nathan went pale. "Attorney? Carl, you didn't mention hiring an attorney." "Seemed like a good idea," I said. "Lot of legal paperwork involved in selling a house." The Henderson family looked nervous, which made sense. Young couple probably stretching their budget for this purchase, and suddenly there were lawyers involved. Leonard Hayes, Nathan's attorney, looked like he was trying to figure out what he'd missed. Helen took control of the room immediately. Before we proceed with any sale discussion, she announced there are some property ownership issues that need clarification. She placed a thick folder on the conference table and opened it like she was dealing cards. The property at 2847 Oak Ridge Road is currently held in the Thompson Family Protection Trust, established on March 15th, 2024. Mr. Carl Thompson is the sole trustee with lifetime occupancy rights. Nathan shot to his feet. "That's impossible. We've been planning this sale for months." "Planning, yes," Helen said calmly, "but the property owner never consented to a sale. In fact, Mr. Thompson has evidence that this sale was being arranged without his knowledge or approval." She placed the digital recorder on the table and pressed play. Nathan's voice filled the room, clear as day, talking about clearing out my junk and selling my house for $420,000. The Henderson family looked at each other, then quietly started gathering their paperwork. The young husband mouthed sorry to me as they headed for the door. There went Nathan's buyers and Sharon's Florida dreams. Leonard Hayes was studying the trust documents like they were written in hieroglyphics. "This appears to be properly executed," he said finally. "Mr. Thompson, when did you establish this trust?" 3 weeks ago, I said. "Right after I realized my wife and stepson were planning to sell my house without asking me." Sharon found her voice. "Carl, you can't just. We discussed this. You agreed Sunset Manor was a good idea. I agreed to think about it. Never agreed to sell my house." Nathan was red-faced and sputtering. "This is ridiculous. You're 67 years old, living alone on 3 acres. It's not safe. The workshop is a fire hazard." I opened my phone and played the video footage of him in my shop calling my electrical work dangerous. Then I handed Helen a folder containing every permit, inspection certificate, and safety compliance document from 20 years of workshop modifications. "Mr. Pierce," Helen said, addressing Nathan, "are you a licensed electrician, structural engineer, building inspector?" "No, but common sense says that a retired electrical engineer who's been pulling legal permits and passing city inspections probably knows more about workshop safety than a car salesman." The room went dead quiet. Nathan's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Helen delivered the final blow. The trust includes specific provisions protecting Mr. Thompson's workshop and tools. The property cannot be sold while he maintains his residence and continues his woodworking. Secondary beneficiary is Columbus Technical College, ensuring the workshop will continue educating future craftsmen. Sharon was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Carl, why didn't you tell me about any of this? Why didn't you tell me you were planning to move to Florida with my house money? That ended the meeting. Leonard Hayes mumbled something about needing to review his files. The Hendersons were long gone. Nathan stormed out, talking about challenging the trust in court. Sharon sat there looking like someone had just explained quantum physics to her. Helen packed up her briefcase with the satisfied air of a woman who just won a chess match in 4 moves. Mr. Thompson, your house is protected. The trust is ironclad, the competency evaluation is on file, and frankly, anyone who challenges a man who can build custom furniture while managing his own legal affairs is going to look foolish in court. I shook her hand and paid her bill. Best $3,500 I ever spent. The aftermath was about what you'd expect. Sharon and Nathan had apparently borrowed money from her parents based on their expected windfall. When that didn't materialize, there were some uncomfortable family meetings I wasn't invited to. Nathan lost his deposit on some condo in Clearwater. Sharon had to cancel her Florida apartment lease. But here's the thing about consequences. Sometimes they clarify relationships in useful ways. Sharon and I had what you might call a come-to-Jesus meeting about our marriage. Turned out she'd never really wanted to be married to a retired engineer who spent his time building furniture. She'd wanted access to my assets and a comfortable retirement funded by my life's work. We worked out a separation agreement. She moved to a rental apartment closer to Nathan, and I kept the house and workshop. No drama, no fighting, just a practical solution to an incompatible situation. My life got better almost immediately. George introduced me to the Columbus Technical College woodworking program, and I started volunteering as an instructor, teaching young people traditional joinery techniques, proper tool maintenance, project planning. Turns out there's a whole new generation hungry to learn skills their fathers never taught them. I joined a veterans woodworking group that meets every Saturday morning. Bunch of old guys like me who know the difference between a mortise and a tenon, who understand that good work takes time and patience. We trade project ideas, share tools, and generally solve the world's problems over coffee and sawdust. The workshop is busier than it's ever been. I've got orders for custom kitchen cabinets, a dining room table for Dorothy Williams, and 3 rocking chairs for my buddy Victor's grandchildren. My hands stay busy, my mind stays sharp, and every morning I wake up in my own house on my own terms. Sharon occasionally texts me about practical matters, insurance forms, tax documents, that sort of thing. Nathan doesn't contact me at all, which suits me fine. I heard through the gossip network that he's having marriage problems of his own, something about financial stress and poor decision-making. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well while other people deal with the consequences of their choices. Last month, the technical college asked if I'd consider donating my workshop to their program while I'm still alive, sort of a legacy gift where I'd maintain my tools but teach regular classes in the space. I'm thinking about it. The idea of my knowledge and skills continuing through other hands appeals to me more than leaving everything to lawyers and bureaucrats after I'm gone. Looking back, I realized Sharon and Nathan taught me something valuable about family. It's not about blood or marriage certificates. It's about respect, honesty, and shared values. My real family turned out to be George and Victor and Dorothy and the guys at the woodworking group and the students who show up eager to learn. The thing that still gets me is how close they came to pulling it off. If I hadn't been an engineer, if I hadn't known how to analyze problems and gather evidence, if I hadn't had buddies who knew the right people, Sharon and Nathan might be living in Florida right now while I'm sitting in some nursing home wondering what happened to my life. But that's the thing about experience. 67 years teaches you that not everyone who smiles at you has your best interests at heart. Some people see vulnerability where you see trust. They see opportunity where you see family. The recordings were the key. Without Nathan's own voice spelling out their plan, it would have been my word against theirs. And let's be honest, who's a judge going to believe? A grieving widower who remarried too quickly, or a concerned wife and stepson worried about an elderly man's safety? Helen told me later that these family property schemes are more common than people think. Adult children, step-relatives, even spouses who see a house as an asset rather than a home. The elderly get targeted because people assume we're confused, isolated, easily manipulated. Well, they picked the wrong engineer. The competency evaluation Dr. Foster did was actually kind of fun. He asked me to solve problems, remember sequences, explain complex concepts. When I started describing the electrical systems in my workshop, he stopped taking notes and just listened. Afterwards, he said it was one of the most thorough technical explanations he'd ever heard from someone my age. Mr. Thompson, he said, if someone questions your mental capacity, they're going to need a lot more evidence than he's old. I keep that evaluation in my workshop safe, right next to the trust documents in my will. Not because I'm worried about another challenge, but because it reminds me that competence isn't about age. It's about staying engaged, staying curious, keeping your skills sharp. The workshop has become something of a neighborhood attraction. Kids stop by after school to watch me work on projects. Their parents bring broken furniture for repair. Dorothy Williams says, I've become the unofficial fix-it guy for half the street. Yesterday, a young couple moved into the house 3 doors down. They stopped by to introduce themselves, and the husband mentioned he'd always wanted to learn woodworking, but never had anyone to teach him. I told him to come by Saturday morning, meet the group, see if it's something he wants to pursue. That's what Sharon and Nathan never understood. The workshop isn't just about making things. It's about passing on knowledge, building community, creating something that lasts beyond your own lifetime. At 67, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. I work in my shop every day, maintain my property, manage my finances, and make my own decisions about my future. The house that Sharon wanted to sell has become more valuable to me than ever. Not as a financial asset, but as the foundation for a life I'm building on my own terms. Sometimes I think about that meeting in Leonard Hayes' office, the moment when Helen dropped those trust documents on the table and Nathan realized his scheme had crumbled. The look on Sharon's face when she understood I'd been 3 moves ahead of them the whole time. That's the moment I stopped being someone else's target and became the architect of my own life again. If you're reading this and you're dealing with family members who see your assets instead of your value, remember this. You don't have to fight dirty, but you better fight smart. Document everything, protect what matters, and never let anyone convince you that age makes you powerless. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If people are making plans for your life without including you in the conversation, start making your own plans. Find allies, lawyers, doctors, friends who understand what's at stake. Most importantly, don't let anyone convince you that giving up your independence is for your own good. There's a difference between needing help and being helpless. There's a difference between family concern and family greed. My workshop is humming right now, minus building a hope chest for George's granddaughter. The smell of cedar shavings, the precision of hand-cut joints, the satisfaction of creating something beautiful and functional. This is what Sharon and Nathan wanted to throw away for a quick profit. Instead, it's become the foundation for the best years of my life. Experience isn't about the years in your life. It's about the life in your years. And sometimes the biggest battles are won not with your fists, but with your wisdom and a well-planned strategy. They thought my age made me weak, but it actually made me dangerous. Because a man who's lived long enough to see every trick in the book is the hardest man to fool.